it's shit like that that makes me just go,
Really?
yeah. I mean, that's my. You reached a higher level. That's my problem with D&D is just they don't really that like it's too gamified in an unrealistic way. And I know people are gonna say, well, it's a fantasy game.
And I was about to say that D&D 6e is not looking any better because most people are getting to be kind of mixed breeds, or they're trying to nullify race values.
Well, let me put it this way. Um, how could I put this? How can I put this? Here's the thing. I mean, this is where D&D is too gamified. Okay, if you are an orc or a goblin or a halfling or an elf who's like living out in the forest or your natural habitat with your tribe, it makes sense for traditional race values to work. But here's the thing: if you are a goblin, elf, human, orc, whatever, dwarf who lives in a multicultural city, you're not going to have those same race values because you're living in a melting pot with other people around you. You know?
Yeah, I get you. I was just saying that that the usual idea is that all these people from different parts of the world are being brought together for a single cause of saving the world.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, look, listen, I'm not saying that there isn't room for, specific characters and shit like that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that, the traditional, just black and white, like these races are always evil. These races are always good. That's stupid.
The alliance system. I mean the I think it was the alliance system, alignment system, right?
Yeah, the only races that would be always evil is maybe demons and devils. Like demons are chaotic evil, and demons
Well,
are lawful evil. Like that's it. And even demons, I mean, there's got to be some chaotic, neutral and chaotic good demons who are like, I don't really like this whole take over the multiverse thing. I just want to find some place where I can live in peace because this whole I was summoned someplace else where they had peace and I liked it. I mean, there's going to be variance due to individuals, is what I'm saying. Um,
yeah.
so I mean, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, this is kind of stupid. Like and here's the thing: there's some really awesome stories. Um, where people are talking about the shit, but whatever. But what do you think?
For me, I find it is a mixed blessing, as in it it needs work, but for some of it, there's some good stuff in there. Just have to try to be careful about how you use it.
Um, like I said, it's the reason why I particularly um I'm there's a reason why I particularly just when I play D&D, I essentially play D&D. Um, essentially, I play. I very rarely play D&D with other people these days, just because I don't like how gamified everything is, and I don't like a lot of the underlying gameplay systems. Not the die rolls, but how certain things are handled. So that's why I prefer homebrew campaigns or when I do play tabletop games, this is what I've been playing over all throughout 2020. For those of you, which is what this podcast is about. It's about the tabletop games we were playing during 2020. You want to go first, Jewel?
Sure, though. First things first, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the BS Busters Midweek Podcast for January 6th.
Yep.
And I'm Joe Regular Moonstar, and we're about to get some dice and cards flying, so be sure to get your shields of protection.
That's right, and we are live with another episode of BS Buster. It's me, owner proprietor of the BS Buster podcast. Podcast founded after the disintegration of gamers at large, where basically I just wanted to create a place where people could talk about video games. And well, here we go. Talking about video games.
Yeah, and while this may not be about video games entirely, there's some into video games that cross over into other media, or in our case, board games.
That is correct. So basically, our topics we'll touch on video games towards the end. We're going to cover tabletop games that we've been playing recently or just got into. What superhero or comic book franchise needs either a reboot, or a chance to shine, or never got a chance? And you're going to ask, what does that have to do with tabletop games? Anyone ever heard of Palladium's Heroes RPG from back in the day?
That's probably an old one, isn't it?
It is. It's like from the 70s or the 80s. But
Dang,
there's been. Oh, I mean, it's younger than AD&D, which is in the 70s. What tabletop game needs a Cyberpunk 2077 level translation into video games? And so let's get into it. So what have you been playing in 2020 that helped you get through the year of hell?
Mostly card games and some D&D. Though if anything, I've been having a little trouble with one DM. So if anything, I'm glad I got more than one DM to work with.
All right.
And for card games, it's mostly been some Pokemon, though I am getting curious about the Digimon one that's coming out this year.
All right. There's been 3 RPGs I've been playing. One is a homebrew campaign, so I'll just say 2. I've been playing a lot of Shadowrun, and actually I started a new character in Vampire the Masquerade. Now, for those of you who don't know, Vampire the Masquerade is heavily influenced by works of fiction, of vampiric fiction, that basically were heavily inspired by Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles.
And no, this is not the Twilight kind of vampires.
Well, there are kind of sparkly vampires in Vampire the Masquerade. They're called the Toreadors. Basically, they're the vampires that, like, they're the pretty vampires who some guy who's really physically attractive will seduce a woman back to his flat, suck her blood, have sex with her, and then send her on her way. Like, basically, the Toreador are the vampires who are most in touch with their humanity because they mingle with humanity so much because they still look human and try to retain their human traits. Basically, if you play as a Toreador, that's basically easy mode almost in a Vampire Masquerade game. The second easy mode, the tier above that is Brujah, which are basically like the Brujah are in the Masquerade are like the melee people. Like a Brujah, like if a Toreador is in a bad situation, they'll use their charisma in order to seduce their way out of it. They're the bards of the Vampire Masquerade world. Brujah will punch you in the face.
In short, they're the warriors or fighters.
They're not really fighters. I mean, they're not the warriors, but they will, like, their first, the Brujah, typically the Brujah's first thing is to threaten you, and then if you keep on fucking with them, to punch you in the face. They are... They're the blackguards, the the badass mercenaries, the dudes who talk shit but can back it up. Then above that, you have the gangrel, who are basically like bestial warriors who can channel the wild. They're basically, if you took the idea of a vampire and a werewolf and combined it together, you'd have a gangrel. You have the Nosferatu, which are like, classic deformed vampires who can't go out in public. They have to live in the sewers
Or
because they can't pass as human, like ever.
or ever kiss the sunlight.
Well, I mean, that's all vampires, except for Dracula. He apparently is immune to sunlight damage. And then you have the vampire aristocracy, whose name I forget, but basically they're like the aristocracy. They can only, except they have a flaw. They can only drink the blood of noble people, like high quality blood. If they don't drink high quality blood, it actually makes them sick. So it's like, they have good stats, but they have a lot of restrictions too.
In short, they're high maintenance.
Yes, very high maintenance. But yeah, what I'm saying is true. Vampire the Masquerade started a new running Vampire the Masquerade, and I've been enjoying it. How's it going, Gilligan?
Hey, sorry for coming home late.
Nah, man, it's okay.
Hey, you're just in time for the fun.
Yeah. Although you might want to mute the YouTube volume because it's echoing.
Echoing?
I can hear the YouTube going on in the background.
That's my background. It's not YouTube.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I guess we'll have the echo. No, I'm joking. But anyway. So anyway, as I was saying, yeah, Vampire the Masquerade. I've been getting into that. It's really good. It's enjoyable. I've been enjoying it on the whole. So I mean, I don't know if you've been played any tabletop games in 2020, aka the year of hell. Did you try any tabletop gaming in 2020, Gilligan? Even over the power of the internet and Discord?
I'm not really into tabletop gaming as much, so
Understandable.
I really don't have an opinion on that.
All right. Okay then. Well, here we have a topic that you might have an opinion on, which is actually related to video games. So, what tabletop game? Well, actually, no. What superhero or comic book franchise do you think needs a reboot or a chance to shine?
I think I wanna go with this one. So have you heard of this comic book series that's known as Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew?
No,
That's the new one.
never heard of it.
Oh my goodness. It basically it's a superhero. It's a comic book about anthropomorphic animal superheroes. Is published by DC Comics, basically. Like if you could easily look it up on Google, basically, and I'll say this right now, the fact that Warner Brothers hasn't even tackled on Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew, like at all, it's baffling to me, because I can see Captain Carrot has such a great potential to be like a great series for either for kids or for a little older audience, maybe for kids, maybe, but like, it's like the fact that Warner Brothers decided, instead of making Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew TV show on Kids WB, let's butcher the Looney Tunes with Lunatics Unleashed.
Yeah, that was a terrible show.
My mind just shuddered thinking about that.
That show was bad. I mean, it wasn't the worst butchering that WB did. That would be Teen Titans Go.
I almost hurled from that.
Teen Titans Go was bad. But I mean, WB has been messing up for years. I mean, where's our Batman Beyond reboot? Where's our
Static Shock.
yeah, Static Shock? Now is the time. Static
Yeah.
Shock, bring it back.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, you
come
can-
on.
you can
Static Shock is one of the best Warner Brother characters that I've ever seen been animated.
You could totally bring back Static Shock, and it doesn't even have to be a continuation of Virgil in high school. You could do Virgil as a grown ass man, like out of college, like graduated, like graduated college, and trying to live his life. Because basically, he was basically the black version of Peter Parker.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, he's back. He's the black version of Spider-Man.
So he's like Miles Morales before Miles Morales.
I know this is gonna sound really bad because I'm a black person, and I know we're supposed to support
Oh
people of
boy,
color.
here comes.
I don't like Miles Morales. but not for the reason people may think. I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, you just want to hold on to Peter Parker." No. The reason I don't
I
like
gotta hear this one.
the reason I don't like Miles Morales is because, essentially speaking, they created like Miles Morales existed in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe, and then when Peter Parker in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe died, Miles Morales became the Ultimate Spider-Man. And then when they fused the universes together, because they dropped the Ultimate comic book line, he just got subsumed into the thing. But they call him Spider-Man, but technically he isn't Spider-Man. Peter Parker's Spider-Man because he's in his 30s. Miles Morales is Spider-Boy because he's 16 years old. That's all I'm saying. Once Spider-Man, Peter Parker becomes an old ass man and retires, then Miles Morales can be Spider-Man.
Wasn't Peter Parker a teenager when he became Spider-Man?
But he was the original. Like, if you have two of the same character, the older one gets grandfathered in. So Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Miles Morales is Spider-Boy.
I see.
Logic.
I also am not impressed with Miles Morales as a character.
Let me guess. His stat block is not as up to snuff as the real Spider-Man.
I mean, listen. Of all of the characters where they're like, we're gonna add a character of color and not make it feel forced, he has one of the better introductions and character growth. I will give Marvel that much credit.
Nice to know.
Especially with Spider-Verse.
Yeah, but I'm not counting the movie, because the movie is where they take bits and pieces of the comics and shit like that. I'm going by the original source material, which is the comics. He had really good character growth from the comics. But I still just, like...
It doesn't feel the same.
Like, here's the thing. I'm looking at it from a comic fan perspective, because that's where I first got used to the character. And to me, I am not impressed with Miles Morales as a Spider-Man. Because he hasn't done the same level of shit that Peter Parker has done as a Spider-Man.
Or gotten into that much of a mess.
Now, of course, like, Spider-Man came out in 1966. So, I mean, you're talking, like, 50-some-odd years. Plus 50 years.
That's 50 years plus.
Yeah, plus 50 years of shit. Obviously, a character created in the 2010s is not going to have the same resume as a character created in the 60s. I get that, but you know, it's an age thing. To me, like to people who are of a certain age, Miles Morales is like a really exciting character for them. Like for early people, for some newer Spider-Man fans. They're like new Star Wars fans who grew up with the prequels, where they don't see anything wrong with the prequels because they grew up with it. It was like, for them, it was like a major thing. Like, I'm not of that generation. I'm earlier than that, so I'm not impressed with Miles Morales as a character.
Yeah, and while I could at least say that we could have our arguments about the prequels and the original trilogy, I could at least say that they are both better than the sequels.
I was almost gonna get into that. Like,
Yeah.
I used to like the sequel trilogy in a sense. Like, like it meant to me because of the fact that I was in the movie theaters, I was so into the hype, and then like taking a look back in hindsight and looking at the flaws about the characters and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like they and that's the thing too. There is signs of really good sequel trilogy there. It's just that these people just squandered it. I think the biggest example is Finn as a character. Like the idea of Finn, leaving the new order, whatever. He was a stormtrooper. He was a former stormtrooper to become a new Jedi. You know,
Yeah.
that sounds like a great idea, but that has been taken away from him.
Yeah, like the thing is like there's some. I agree with you. There in the Force Awakens, or as I like to call it, A New Hope 2. The shittier
one.
New Hope, because that's basically what the Force Awakens was. It was A New Hope, but done shittier. Like basically,
Yeah.
Finn and Rey are Luke Skywalker split in half. Finn is Luke Skywalker before he knows a farm boy, and then Rey is Luke Skywalker once he wants to be a Jedi. um, and Han Solo is Ben Kenobi. I mean, like the Force Awakens was just, hey, it's A New Hope all over again. But the hilarious thing about that movie is there were some good ideas in there. Like it would have been cool if if uh if you're right
If
Finn
Finn became the new hero,
if
the
Finn
lead
found out that
hero,
he was a jet that he was force sensitive, and then
yeah.
and then that would have been a reason for him to search out Luke Skywalker because he's the last known Jedi.
Mm,
Like that would
yeah.
have been awesome. But no, we need to make
The Force
everything.
is female. Oh God,
I,
my blood boils hearing that.
Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care about propaganda in a film if the film is good. Okay.
Yeah, there has been forms of media that utilizes propaganda and it can actually be good.
I mean, some of the best films, some of the most iconic films of film history utilize propaganda, but they're good. Like Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones taught us to hate Nazis. That's all those films are. You hate Nazis and child slavers. And whatever bad thing happens to Nazis and child slavers, we don't care because fuck them. They're Nazis and child slavers. Right? Like Star Wars, you hate space Nazis. That's all Star Wars is. It's just people killing space Nazis, and it's great. Here's the thing: I have nothing against propaganda if the film is good. But if you're gonna have propaganda and the film be bad on top of it, then we got a problem. And that's, I mean, But here's the thing: I remember when Disney bought Star Wars, and everyone's like, "Well, they need to get rid of George Lucas. George Lucas is the problem." And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And people didn't listen to me. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, how were those movies with no input from George Lucas? How were they? How'd they work out for you guys?
The Mandalorian showed how good those were.
And think
I
about
mean, it
it.
was like one of the few good things to happen in Star Wars, basically.
Think about it. The Mandalorian is the only thing post Kathleen Kennedy and Disney buying Star Wars where George Lucas had input, and it's the only good thing that's come out of Disney Star Wars. And that and Rogue One. Rogue One was pretty good.
Yeah, Rogue One was pretty good too. Yeah, yeah. I
But
think that's the best Star Wars movie in a long time.
yeah, and the only reason Rogue One is good is because it's connected to A New Hope in a way that makes sense. And the last 5 minutes of it shows why you need Jedi to fight Sith Lords because normal people ain't got a fucking chance against a dude with a lightsaber who can use it.
So it does remind me of Halo Reach in terms of its story, because like how like the Spartans fell, and then basically the last like the climax of the game It basically leads up to the beginning of the first Halo game.
What do I do with my?
Basically.
Yeah, I remember it pretty.
Well, that was kind of the point of. I mean, but we already knew they were all gonna die. Because I mean, you watch the original Star Wars, and they're like many people died in order to get these plans to us. Yeah, they were. Look, listen. As I went into Rogue One knowing that everyone there was gonna die, everyone was gonna die. Everybody died, and I was okay with it.
Everyone died.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I mean, look, listen. I mean, like they're like, we're gonna do a Cassian Andor film, TV show. Why? I don't want to. I don't want to know more about a character. I don't want to get attached to a character that I know is gonna die. Why? Like that makes no sense.
It's like trying to show that the destination for all things is the dump, and you don't care how one thing ends up there or another.
You know, it would be like if like here's what that's like. That's like if Square Enix made a manga, a short term like multi 5-part manga telling the story of Eris before she died in Final Fantasy VII. I don't give a shit. She's irrelevant because she's gonna die anyway. What's the point? You know, it's like what?
Yeah,
Why are you?
that would be like the Rogue One mission.
You know, oh well, we need to tell this story. I don't care. I really.
We all know how this ends.
They're all going to die. The end. You ain't gonna make it.
Which kind of goes into something that is gaming, though probably not for the better.
That is.
The Age of Calamity.
Yeah, I know some Zelda fans were really happy about that game. I just didn't give a shit.
For me, it's double that because one, I'm not a 3D person for Zelda, and two, I'm not a fan of Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, Muso games. Well, for me, it was the trifecta. I don't really like Breath of the Wild that much. I don't like most Muso games. And why the fuck would I want to see a prequel for people who are all gonna die anyway?
Or getting there killed.
Well, I mean, literally, aside from Link and Zelda, everyone else dies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like why? Like they're like we're like the fact that they had a direct to hype people up about shit where you already know the outcome. I don't like that. I don't like games that do that. Where they're like, well, this is actually a prequel. Fuck you. I hate prequels. I hate prequels in video games.
Prequels
Actually,
can be done great, but you have to be real careful about it.
Actually, I wanna tackle to that in terms of like prequels and video games. What bothers me the most is when certain quote unquote sequels are truthfully prequels in the series, like Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
That's a prequel.
Well, Metal Gear Solid 3, you mean the Twin Snakes?
Not the Twin Snakes. Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake Eater.
Yeah, that's a remake of the first Metal Gear game.
It is?
Yeah, Snake Eater is a remake of the first Metal. It's basically a high def remake of the first game. It's not really a prequel. It's just because the first Metal Gear Solid game was on the MSX, and like no one in America had an MSX, so it never came. It was just in Japan. It was Japan only.
Like it's a remake of the first Metal Gear on the MSX. You mean, right?
Yeah, it's a remake. It's basically a ground up remake of the original Metal Gear. So even though they call it, like, you know how in America we didn't get Final Fantasy 5 or 3, we only got Final Fantasy 1 and 2. So they just skipped it and just gave us Final Fantasy 2 on the SNES and Final Fantasy 3. So the numbering's all fucked up. That's how Metal Gear Solid is. Like the numbers are it's just all jacked up. I mean, really, I don't know why they don't just localize the games, or at least give people a primer on what they missed, which would be better. They're like, no, we can't do that. We gotta make shit up.
Yeah, definitely. But
But
what about like so I would put this. Even though I love this game,
uh,
so Devil May Cry 3 is one of those games that, while it is the third entry, the story is a prequel, a precursor to the first Devil May Cry, basically.
well, I'm about to say something that's gonna blow your mind. I actually like DMC. I know a lot of Devil May Cry fans hate that game, but I actually liked it. I don't.
Wait, the so-called reboot?
Yeah, the so-called reboot that people hated. I was like, look, man, like I don't know why people take Devil May Cry so seriously. It's a joke series. Like it's supposed to be over the top and jokey. Like it's not ultra. It doesn't take itself seriously. So why should you? But they got mad. They're like, I can't take it. I'm like, look, it has the reboot Dante doing the most Dante thing you could ever imagine, which was getting in a curse off with a giant demon that shits the equivalent of Slurm. I mean, come on, man. that is total Devil May Cry shit right there. But no, they were like, no, he doesn't have white hair. I'm like, come on, man. Dante is not the
Actually,
equivalent to Mario or Link where they have to look a certain way or it doesn't work.
I see. Actually, as a matter of fact, I also agree with you that I actually did like DMC basically.
I'm Jordan.
In fact, there's some pretty like interesting like visuals and level design in that reboot actually. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I wasn't down with all the hate. I was like, come on, man, you don't need to hate on this game that much. But look, listen, I'm in the minority on that. And I'm okay with it. But anyway, uh, so I didn't tell about the superhero comic franchise that I think needs to reboot. Or no, Jewel didn't. Jewel, do you have a superhero comic book franchise that you want to see get rebooted?
I was emphasis on what I said earlier, which would be Static Shock, both animation and the comic series.
I'd be down with that.
Oh yeah, definitely. If WB and DC can do a good job at it.
If they can pull their heads out of their asses, that'd be great. Because apparently, you guys know why Wonder Woman
84.
84 failed, right?
Actually, I've been hearing about that, but I don't understand why. Like, what happened to that one?
Studio interference. Because you know why the first Wonder Woman film was deemed. I mean, like, personally, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was a great movie. I didn't think it was terrible. It was a damn sight better than anything Zack Snyder had done. I'll keep it real on that. But the reason that film did well is because they didn't think it was going to do anything, and they left Patty Jenkins alone. They let her just do whatever the hell she wanted, and you got a moderately decent movie. But the second film had a lot of studio interference. They were like, well, it has to appeal to kids. It has to be for kids. It has to be for kids. And it wound up sucking. Yeah. Yeah. Typical WB. WB does that. Like, they'll have a good movie and then studio interference and they'll fuck it up. Like, the first Superman, great. Second Superman, studio interference. Actually, the second Superman's pretty good. The third Superman, studio interference, it's got to be more comedic. It's got to be more comedic. Why?
That happened with Batman too. You know, the Tim Burton ones, and then after Batman Returns, right?
Yeah, they were like, it's
Then
too
there
dark.
goes
We
Batman
can't sell these
Forever
toys. Yeah, it's too dark. We can't sell these toys. So they went with Joel Schumacher, who gave us bat nipples
and Bat Asses.
and bat asses. Like, here's the thing. Those films they're guilty pleasure films. They're not good, but they're not not
hilariously
good.
bad.
Yeah, they're hilariously bad. They're like, okay, let me put it this way.
Jeez, bad.
Even though they're not good movies, you can have fun watching them. Okay, but I would rather watch all four of those Batman films. The two Burton films and the two Schumacher films over watching Nolan's trilogy. Yeah, I said it. I don't like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. I said it. I fucking said it.
Oh, that's a very spicy take.
Yeah. People get mad when you say that. Like, what do you mean, Nolan? Look, listen, okay? I'm a Batman comic book fan. Nolan's, he made a quote unquote realistic Batman, which is stupid because you're not going to find a rich asshole dressing up as a giant bat beating up poor people and criminals. I'm sorry. Okay? So already we're in the realm of fantasy, all right? But let's put that aside, okay? He fucked up the lore of Batman, and that's where I have a problem.
I see.
So, I mean, how much of that is Nolan's fault? How much of that is David Goyer, who wrote the script? Who can say?
Well, I for one like the Dark Knight trilogy, you know, because you know how grounded it is. But I can understand why you could say that it's not so good in your eyes because you know it's Batman is a more fantasy driven series. You know, that's why like you know, I can understand why some people may not like Bane in the Christopher Nolan trilogy because of the fact that he doesn't have the venom.
You know,
And what's the point?
I'm gonna keep it real, okay? I am not against the grounded approach to Batman. I just think the script writing is shit. And the interpretations of these comic book characters into a realistic way is shit. Like I think, like okay, I'm gonna lay you through what my idealized Nolan trilogy would have been script wise. Okay, tell me if this sounds better than what we got. Okay, because the first Batman movie is good. The second one is it's serviceable. The second one is good, but that's because of Heath Ledger's Joker. Because it's really Joker's movie and Batman's just in it. But then again, the first Tim Burton Batman is Joker's movie and Batman is just kind of in it. So I put it on the same level as that movie. And then, I'm sorry, that third movie is not good at all. That movie is not good. But here's what I would have done had I, if I was in control of the script writing process. The first Batman movie should have been Batman Year One. And instead of adding, Batman trained with Ra's al Ghul and all that shit, and the Scarecrow, it would have just been Bruce Wayne growing up, going abroad to Japan to learn his martial arts skills, which is what he did in the comics. He didn't learn his fucking skills from Ra's al Ghul. That's bullshit, okay?
Who the heck said that?
That's in Batman Begins. He learns his skills from Ra's al Ghul, which is just fucking stupid. I know you guys managed to get Liam
and you
Neeson.
wonder why I was actually wondering how the Hades did that be canon.
I know you guys got Liam Neeson and you had to use Liam Neeson, but what the fuck? But anyway, so basically Batman comes back from Japan and abroad learning all those martial arts skills and shit. And the movie is about Batman hunting down the man who killed his parents. And in the process, he realizes that crime has run rampant in Gotham. Okay, so he starts going out. Initially, instead of having the awesome outfit, he's just wearing like a cape and a cowl. That's it, because that's what Batman did in the comics. And before he had the awesome costume that was made by Alfred, he just had the cape and the cowl. Okay, and Alfred didn't even know he was sneaking out. Like he came across him after he got the shit kicked out of him by a group of thugs and barely made it out. He's all fucked up and he's like, you need a better outfit. And so that's like Alfred made the costume. That's what should have happened. And the movie should have been Bruce Wayne, because he's a detective, discovering that Joe Chill is now a major hitter for some type of major criminal in Gotham City. And he just basically, Batman starts getting the evidence together to take out these criminals and the corrupt police. And the end of the movie should have had Batman having to face the moral dilemma of either letting Joe Chill go to jail or kill him.
Dang.
Should I? But he does the next best thing. like after like halfway through the movie, he basically puts all of the mafia people, the crime bosses and mafia people in jail due to his detective work and getting evidence. Gets rid of the corrupt police in the Gotham PD, right? So like Jim Gordon, who's just like a captain, becomes commissioner by the end of the film. And Batman does the worst thing in the world. Like he's like, yeah, you like he goes to Joe Chill and he's like, yeah, you wonder why your world fell around you. Well, you know, X and X years ago, you shot Thomas and Martha Wayne in an alley. Well, guess what? And he takes off his cowl and he shows Joe Chill that he's Batman. He's like, yeah, I'm Bruce Wayne, and you did this. You're the reason I exist. And he pulls it down. And so Joe Chill goes to jail and with all these other crime bosses, and he's like, yeah, well, I know the guy who did this to you, and it's because of me he did it. And the mafia kill him in jail. That would have been fucking awesome. But instead, we got that bullshit from David Goyer in the first movie.
Which is holy BS.
I'm sorry. Like, that first movie is shit. I'm sorry. So then we get to the second movie. The second movie would start with, like, you would have time pass, like 5 years pass. And the way you show time pass is that you would have, like, newspapers coming in the background, like, fall on the ground, showing Batman basically cleans up the city, but then these masked criminals start popping up. Right?
These wild cards, like the Joker, Penguin.
You don't call them wild cards. They just call them masked criminals, right? And it shows Batman putting them in jail, but there's one major criminal that comes into town. But like these aren't the major criminals. These are like Clockwork King, Calendar King, Condiment King. No shit like that.
What the?
Those are criminals from Batman.
Yeah, I've heard about Condiment King. Like, wow.
Well, I mean, listen.
Was WTF?
That's what happens. Like, basically, the vacuum created by Batman cleaning up Gotham creates a power vacuum. So you have all these low-level criminals and people who are just fucking crazy start coming out the woodworks in order to take over the criminal underworld. And this is where the Joker comes in. I like Heath Ledger's Joker, but him just being a crazy guy who wants to use chaos in order to bring order is kind of stupid. You should make him into a fucking straight-up criminal. But he's crazy. The Joker is crazy, all right? So he has a plan, but he's crazy like a fox, okay? So you have all that shit. Like, they had too many villains in that second movie. It should have just been the Joker. No Two-Face, just the Joker. And so the second film's conflict is that Batman is up against someone who is completely fucking crazy. Like, he's crazy. Like, how do you fight crazy? And that's... like, Batman has fought weird-ass criminals because you establish in the opening of the film that Batman has put all these criminals into Arkham who are, like, costume criminals. Like Condiment King, Clockwork King, you could even have that puppeter guy with the puppet, with the machine gun, like that guy. You know, and also put normal criminals in jail. You could have all that. You could establish that in the beginning of the film, but it's like it's more grounded because he's like dealing with the Joker, and this dude's fucking crazy. Like, how does Batman deal with a crazy person? That would have been a really good thing. And then ultimately,
Come on, how can you deal with somebody that is off their rocker and would actually only kill for a smile?
Well, the thing is that like we have multiple versions of the Joker's origin, so we're not going to go over it in this version of The Dark Knight Rises. It's basically or the second film. I forget, but basically they just established that there's a guy here and he's doing weird shit. Like, basically the Joker has a plan, but his plan is basically makes sense to him and make it be an actual criminal act. Like, he's doing all of these seemingly random crimes in order to divert Batman's attention so that he can steal like a big payday and get the fuck out. That's his plan. It doesn't work because this is a Batman movie, and Batman winds up putting his ass away in Arkham. And the end of the film would have had the Joker in Arkham laughing his ass off in a straitjacket. Okay? And Batman realizing that even though he beat the Joker and put him in jail, that a
He's
part
gonna
of
get out.
he lost. Well, he lost. Like, okay, the Joker made him go over the line. Like, there's gonna be some point where Batman is gonna have to go over the line with the Joker, and like, or even almost go over the line, and that's gonna be the start of the rivalry between the Joker and Batman. Unfortunately, Heath Ledger died, so we couldn't do that. But you get what I'm saying, Gilligan?
Yeah, I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
And the third movie, I mean, and here's the thing: in both the first and second movie, you could have had end scenes, not an end scene credit where it's in the stinger, but at the end of the movie, you go back to jail and you find, like, at the end of the first movie, we established that these mafia people are mad that Batman came into the city and took them out, and they kill Joe Chill because he created the source of their problems. Even though he doesn't even get to tell them who Batman is, they kill him. Okay. In the second movie, these mafia people are like, look, we've all got money hidden away. I heard there's a mercenary in South America who can take care, like, he can do anything. All right. He's ultra focused, brilliant. He can get anything done. And if we put our money together, he'll take out the Batman for us. So you're setting up Bane in the second movie. Okay, the third movie. First of all, Tom Hardy, shitty Bane. He's too goddamn short to be Bane. Okay, ironically, he's like 5'7", 5'6". He's short. He's too goddamn short to be.
Bane's usually higher than that.
Bane's huge. He manhandles the fuck out of Batman. That's the point. But anyway, so get someone else to play Bane, someone who's got the body type for it. Second, so basically they hire Bane. The opening of the film is basically you're going to see Bane putting together the pieces to take out Batman. Okay, in the first act of the movie, he's putting together the pieces to take out Batman. So basically, he gets into Gotham. He sets off a series of crimes that Batman is like going around the city trying to put out all these fires, not literally but proverbially. And then he's like, look, if you want me, come to Arkham and get me. So basically, you have Batman going into Arkham, taking out all these criminals that he put into Arkham, and by the time he gets to Bane, he's fucking tired, okay? Because that's what happened in the comics. And then, I mean, you know, the iconic backbreak scene, except this time we don't have little-ass Tom Hardy. We have someone who has the appropriate body type for the shit. And yeah, you can have him be roided out. Why not? Except instead of the whole venom in his neck thing, he's just always roided out. Like he's created his own special brand of steroid that he's always taking. And he breaks Batman's back. There you go. Batman's back is broken. You can have Catwoman in it, but she doesn't betray Batman. She's just like, look, there's a new guy in town. He's playing for keeps, and I'm getting the fuck out of town because, I mean, this thing we got going on between us, I can't do it. Like, you know.
She values her life over trying to save Batman.
Because this motherfucker is crazy. Like, she tells him, she's like, look, this dude is fucking insane. Okay? I've heard bad shit about him. All right? And there's your Catwoman plug. Batman gets his back broken. Catwoman, like, he's left in Arkham, right? And Bane he's like, I will leave you here because, you know, people need to know that not that I beat you, but I broke you. And he walks away, right? And the city is fucked. None of this, there's a bomb driving around the city because that's stupid. The city, they like have like wireless cameras where they show Batman getting his ass kicked and his back broken. Catwoman disrupts the cast and gets Batman out and basically gets him back to his Batmobile, which in my opinion would be a more conventional Batmobile that's built for stealth and not a tank, because why would Batman need a tank?
Only if in a riot.
No, I mean, the thing is this. For some reason, and I don't know why people just can't let The Dark Knight alone. Because in The Dark Knight Returns, Batman had a tank. And every fucking Batman film keeps on worshiping at the dick of The Dark Knight Returns. There are so many other good Batman stories other than The Dark Knight Returns. But that's neither here nor there. So the film culminates with Batman going back to his mansion, with Catwoman, who helps him out, helps him rehab and all that shit. And basically, like he gets his magic back brace. You can keep the magic back brace because this shit's stupid anyway.
Over the top, more like it.
And you have Batman face off against Bane round 2, but this time he beats Bane by fighting dirty.
Why fight hard when you fight smart?
Well, you do realize in the comics and in the animated series, the only time Batman has beaten Bane is by fighting dirty, right?
I was about to say, fight smart.
Like, not that bullshit they did in the third Nolan Batman film.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So basically, Batman does the best he can. He beats Bane. He stops his little crew. He puts the criminals back in jail. And that's the end of the film. That's the end of your trilogy. None of this, he fakes his death, and they kind of tease Robin, but not really. Look, listen. The first Nolan film is okay. The third film is pretty good. The third film sucks. Nolan's Batman trilogy is overrated. Overall, it's overall overrated. The second film is good, but the first and third film are just not very good.
I see.
And I know people are going to be like, oh, how dare you? Think about it. What good films has Nolan made since that trilogy? I mean, legitimately good films. Aside from that World War II film.
I was about to say, only the critics could tell you that.
Like, there was that World War II film he made that was pretty good. But aside from that, Interstellar was trash. That movie with John David Washington was trash. Nolan's overrated.
I think that he's only known for the Batman movies he's made. Other than that,
he's made other shit too. I mean, look, listen. Nolan is one of those auteurs who wants to keep, wants to shoot in real film, and he's one of those people. But the problem is that Nolan's ass got a little big after those Batman films, which, like I said, I don't think they're that good. Like, why would you think your film, when the first film is mediocre at best, the second film is great, the third film sucks. So out of a trilogy, the first film is like a 70, the second film's a 95, the third film is a 50. So overall, that's still a failing average. I mean, that's not great.
The average. Oof.
Well, actually, I can do the average right here. Here, let me look at my calculator. Calculon. Let's see, 70 plus 95 plus 50 equals 215 divided by 3 equals. No, it's a 70. It's an average. It's an average. It's a 70.
It's a C.
It's a 70. No, that's a D.
Ooh, I was wrong there.
A
But
70,
I was right. It wasn't the D.
A 72, it's a 71.666, but I'm rounding that up because it's 71.6. It's a 72. That's still a D. Like, I mean, that's the best Batman trilogy we've ever had. A D. Really? On average.
Interesting. Then, what about the Batman v Superman? I know that's not entirely a Batman film.
I mean, we can call it a Batman film, but I mean, that movie was bad. That movie was worse than the entire Nolan Batman trilogy. Even the bad Batman trilogy movies, Nolan Batman trilogy movies, it's worse than those. And yet, guess who the scriptwriter for that shit was? David Goyer! David Goyer should never be allowed to write another script for a DC movie ever again. He's terrible. I mean, come on, man. Martha? Why'd you say that name? Martha. Oh, God, this is so stupid. Let me put it this way. There was an animated series movie called Batman v Superman, where Batman and Superman team up to take on Joker and Lex Luthor, and they handled the team up. They handled the clash and the team up of Batman and Superman better than that fucking film that had hundreds of millions of dollars thrown at it. That is embarrassing.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely that is. Like the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series are written better than the most of the movies, basically.
That's the worst thing. It's like it'd be one thing if there weren't examples of this shit. Like you want to know how Batman and Superman teamed up to take on Lex Luthor and the Joker in the animated series? They switched costumes. So basically, like Batman was in Superman's costume and Superman was in Batman's costume, and they swapped villains. So basically, like Lex Luthor pulls out the kryptonite, and Batman's like pretending like he's all, "Oh, I'm so weak," and then he proceeds to beat the shit out of Lex Luthor. So Lex Luthor thinks the kryptonite is just not working anymore. He's like, "Well, I'm immune now," and he grabs it and he throws it away. Now that shit was, yeah, it's a little campy, but they did it in the comics. It's better than the shit we got in that fucking movie. Like when people tell me Zack Snyder's films are great, I'm like, what are you smoking? And I need some of that shit after 2020.
Are you on shrooms?
I don't know what they're smoking, but it's some good shit. That's all I'll say. That's some of the best shit I've ever not heard of.
And it's funny that these are the type of people that also wanted the Snyder cut of the Justice League movie.
Yeah.
And we're apparently getting it, but it was like, is that really gonna make it any better?
No.
I don't think so.
No. Here's the thing. In order for you to make a movie better, okay, if a movie is really good and there's an extended cut or director's cut, then having like those extra cuts can make the film better because the underlying foundation is good. Zack Snyder's DC films suck. Even Watchmen isn't that good. And so, like, doing an extended cut with more ass and titties and violence is not going to make it better. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not. It really isn't. I don't know why people don't understand that. But, you know, it's going to come out and they're going to be like, yay, we got what we wanted. Zack Snyder. Fucking tool. So we got a little bit of time left for the last topic. What tabletop game needs a Cyberpunk 2077 level translation into video games? Now, hear me out. I don't mean with the level of bugs or corporate dishonesty or just slapping things together in order to get it out the door. I mean that level of taking an IP and putting that level of scope to it in a video game. Who wants to go first?
I would say certain Pathfinder campaigns, though I'm trying to think of which one specifically, because I heard that those could actually work for modifications.
Fair enough. Gilligan? You don't have to use a tabletop game if you're not familiar with a tabletop game. You could just use any IP that you're like, why haven't they made that into a video game yet? Or made a good video game for that IP yet? I'm curious.
This one is pretty tricky because I have like, I don't know, it's like I have like a couple, but I can't really pinpoint like one good example. Like so are you talking about like in terms of like a TV show or a movie that could be translated to a video game?
Yeah,
Like
or if there have been video games, the video game sucked. It was like, this could have been good, but every video game based on this property has pretty much sucked.
Oh, well, I guess you could say Teen Titans. The 2000s animated Teen Titans.
Fair enough.
basically.
Well, we got that one beat 'em up, but it was kind of simplistic.
So there was this Teen Titans Fighting Flash game that was kind of popular, basically. That people actually genuinely enjoyed it, and it's actually people would even say it's better than the actual games that came out on consoles, basically.
I won't go that
So
far.
yeah,
I won't go that far.
That's a little
I,
much.
Most Flash games I've noticed are kind of like,
Swift and simple.
well, I mean, okay, there's one Flash game that I remember playing that was pretty goddamn good. Super Mario Brothers crossover. That's pretty good. But the most other Flash games I've played, I'm like, I'm not really enjoying this.
I get you.
For me, your mileage may vary, especially since I had two RPGs that were in Flash, and oh god,
Yeah, most of the RPGs I've played in Flash, I was like, I'm not feeling it.
huh,
I'm like Naruto. I'm like the anti Naruto. I'm not feeling it.
very funny. I was about to say, I thought you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I'm really feeling it. No, I don't really.
That
Actually,
you're
yes,
using
Shulk
Xenogear
is the one.
Chronicles for that one. Not,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, whatever.
anti-Shulk.
Little shonen catchphrases that are kind of stupid when you think about it.
yeah. Though, if you ever want to check it out a little bit, Epic Battle Fantasy V. That's one RPG that was started from a Flash series.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's a little too grindy. I've discovered that franchise is a little too grindy for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Even for somebody like you, that's a little surprising.
Look, I like grinding, but even for me, that's a little too much. But
Sorry, I was just laughing at how funny that is.
yeah, I was about to use a joke like, yeah, you just ask my girlfriend how much I like grinding, but then I was like, nah, that's too much.
Oh god.
But anyway,
Hey,
yeah,
you said it, not me.
TMI there.
yeah, I was about to do that, but I was like, no, that's too much. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, basically to me, that's just my own personal opinion. I know some people will disagree, but Epic Battle Fantasy is a little too grindy for me. It's a little too, um, it's too grindy. It's like, okay, well, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. I'll tell you a franchise that I think could do really well with a cyberpunk level RPG video game adaptation: Shadowrun.
If I remember right,
I
isn't
remember
that one of your
man.
campaigns?
Yep. Shadowrun would be great with a cyberpunk level adaptation. It's the reason I supported Cyberpunk, was because if Cyberpunk did well, someone would pick up the Shadowrun IP because to copycat and do a game of that level as well. And like I still stand by that. Shadowrun having a game where would basically be in a futuristic city where magic came back, and so you have like dwarves and elves and half elves and trolls and orcs and humans and dragons and other magical creatures, while also having high technology. So like drones and cyborgs and uh, uh, like die-cotted swords, like basically like cyberpunk with the magic and shit like that. Awesome, awesome. Um, and it could work. Unfortunately, uh, Cyberpunk fucked up. But I think that's more a CD Projekt Red's issue, not that the idea of taking that IP and turning it into a massive game could not work. It would just take like 6 years to make it, but I'd be down for it. I'd pay for it. I'd buy it. So that being said, we have breached all the topics. Anyone have a free topic they want to bring up before we get to the wrap things up and get to the end of the podcast?
To
Actually,
be honest with you, I was about to ask what you got in mind for a new for a new person.
I was gonna ask Gilligan. Let Gilligan go first. Anything you want to bring up?
Oh yes. I got like a couple. Um, well, I wanted to bring up to I wasn't want to bring up a point I was gonna make and one of the topics that we just talked about.
Okay.
Like remember how we were just talking about corporate meddling and how they this is unappealing to the kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring up like I really hate how these studio executives of any kind, whether it be the gaming industry, movie industry, TV show industry, or the animation industry, it's like, oh, like you can't you can't basically you can't basically like have something creative that basically tackles the you know, children's perspectives and mindsets, that will be appealing not only just for children, but for adults as well, you know?
Oh, the rated E for everyone label.
Yeah, something like that. And this is the reason why we get shit like Teen Titans Go.
Ugh.
It's like, and Thundercats Roar. And, and you see what I mean? It's like, it's like, they wanted to bring, they wanted to bring up, that's the whole like the creators of that show and the writers of that show uh that they're in a league on their own, like the way how they treat their audience, the fans of the shows, you know but see, like the problem is, like, a lot of these movies, however this a lot of these executives are just like strangely like stagnating creativity within like these movies. And funny enough too, like I've been seeing like a couple of critics, like YouTube critics out there, um, are dressing with are talking about the newest Pixar movie, Soul, right?
Yeah.
And they're saying that, oh, one of them literally said, "Oh, some of the themes in this movie is a bit too much for children in a sense." Like, really?
Well, I mean, here's the thing you have to keep in mind. Okay. A lot of the people who criticize movies today are looking at it in terms of like today. Like, okay, I'm 34. Okay, I grew up with shit that did not give a fuck that I was a kid. Right? Like, I grew up with things that were supposedly for children that had horrific things in it, and we just dealt with it. Like
Yeah.
Gremlins. Gremlins was a PG-13 movie. Well, wait, let me check. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it was.
Kind of like PG rated at the time. Like PG rated movies back in the day used to got away with a lot of stuff.
Here, let me rating Gremlins rating. It was here. Let me look this up. Gremlins rating. Gremlins rating. It was PG-13. Okay, it was rated PG-13, and yet that movie has some of the most fucked up shit. It has people being horrifically murdered by little monsters. It has an old lady,
Awesome.
an evil old bitch, but an old lady getting launched out of a window. And she's dead. It's not like, well, she might be okay. No, she might just be injured. She's dead. Okay.
I was going to say she's injured at the best, but
No, she's
killed at
dead.
the worst.
She's dead. It's not even. She's just dead. Um, like,
I was saying that because we don't see what happens.
look, listen. You get launched out of a window like that and crash into a car, you're dead.
Oh.
Yeah, you're dead. You're dead.
Yeah.
You're just dead. You're dead. I
It's
mean,
just, I usually say that we don't know, so if anything, it's hard to determine because,
No.
well, you usually only see the action and not the results of it.
No, you don't need to see the look. You don't need to see the results because you can interpolate the results. Like, for example, in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, There's a scene where a guy who's beating children for slave labor gets his a piece of his clothing caught in a diamond in a rock crusher because they're mining for diamonds, and
That is a clear dead.
you don't need to see him die to know he dies horrifically. Like you don't. It's like he's. Mm-mm. You know,
Yeah.
there's a scene in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade where he's fighting this Nazi on a tank, and the Nazi is beating his ass, and he gets the Nazi off of him, and then he jumps off the tank. The Nazi goes off a cliff in a tank and falls to his death. He's dead. He ain't coming back. That's horrific. But that's the shit we grew up with PG-13 as kids. This is shit for kids. You know, we grew up with stuff that made us tough and dealt with mature themes. And I have to give Pixar credit, except for Cars, which is kind of stupid, and The Littlest Dinosaur.
Okay. The Cars
Yeah.
and the Littlest Dinosaur. You're really going with the low-hanging fruit.
But I mean, this is Pete. This is Pete's story. Pete Doctor. Pete's story.
Doctor.
Yeah, Pete Doctor. This is Pete Doctor. Pete Doctor. Everything Pete Doctor has directed has been good. Wall-E, Up, Inside Out, and now Soul.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, all of those movies deal with very mature themes, but in a way that, like, I don't consider Soul, Up, Wall-E, Inside Out. Those aren't kids' films. Those are family films. Those are films where your kid's going to ask you questions and you're going to be like, okay, let me explain. And then you explain it to them. I mean, the first 15 minutes of Up is a silent movie, and it's heartbreaking. Because you see this man and this girl get into an argument, like they're little kids, and they start annoying each other, and then they wind up falling in love, getting married. They grow old, like, and find out they can't. They get married. They find out they can't have kids, so we're gonna put our money together and then travel the world one day. And then his wife gets sick and dies, and so he's just this old man living in this house. It's like, wow, this is some deep shit.
I think people remember Up mostly because of the intro.
Well, the intro does grab you by the heart. It's like you're like you start tearing up. You're like, I'm not crying. It's just something in this movie theater. Something in the air. Something in the air. And Wall-E, I mean, Wall-E is great. Wall-E is one of the Wall-E is one of my favorite. I'm like, why was there never a sequel to Wall-E? That should have had a sequel.
Yeah, I was going to make the joke that Wall-E has more emotion than Rey, quote Skywalker.
You mean perfect? You mean has no flaws?
Very true.
Has no flaws whatsoever. Well, she has no flaws. Rey has no flaws. She has no flaws. She has no character flaws. Like she's a better pilot than Han Solo. She's a better lightsaber duelist than Luke Skywalker. She's stronger in the Force than a Jedi. Like, she has zero flaws. And let me tell you something. A character that has no flaws is a shitty character. Is a shittily written character. But I don't think that's Daisy Ridley's fault. That's the script writer and the director's fault.
Oh, absolutely. It's not Daisy Ridley's fault.
Because you're just doing your best with what you're.
Kennedy.
Yeah. Look, listen. If you give listen. Daisy Ridley is not that great of an actress. She's not terrible, but she's not that great of an actress. Okay. And some people can take shit material and elevate it. Daisy Ridley is not one of those people. Okay? She needs good material to elevate. And she can't do it. Because, she was just a badly written character. But, yeah, I agree. She, so anything else you want to bring up before we wrap things up?
Oh, I was actually gonna continue on, I don't know if I really want to bring up this topic because we're getting into some really disturbing territory when I'm talking about this one.
Go ahead.
Have you heard of this infamous movie that came out in 2020 known as Cuties?
Yeah,
Oh, F it.
yeah, I saw it. And no, I'm not a pedophile.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so well, I mean, I haven't seen it myself, but I saw like some scenes of that movie, and Jesus Christ, what they're thinking when it comes to that.
Okay, so
That
since I saw the film and I critiqued it and I wrote a critique
Yeah.
for it, I will attempt to explain what they were trying to do with the film. Now, before I go into it, I'm going to name a disclaimer. Number one, Netflix horrifically marketed this film. Number two, the people who are saying that this is a film for pedophiles. Look, if someone's a pedophile, they don't need this film in order to get their rocks off. They will find a way because they're perverts.
Hmm.
Now that I got that out of the way, I'll explain. Okay, basically, Cuties is a film. The director of the film, the lady who directed the film, she's also the writer of the film. She made the film because she was a young she was a young Senegalese um, refugee immigrant into France. And the film is about a young girl who essentially is given conflicting messages on what it means to be uh, uh, I forget the French term. It's basically it's the French term for a cutlet or tenderloin or tenderoni, but it's translated as the title of the film, which is cutie, like cutie pie. But really, there's like a French term for it as well. But I don't speak French, so. But anyway, so essentially, in the film, you have two storylines going on. Uh, this young girl is living with her mom in France, and her mom is basically in a tough situation because she's Muslim, and her husband is off getting other wives, and the mother is in a shit situation. Um, and this girl and her daughter Amy, the main character of the film, is basically hanging out with these group of girls who are basically acting way too. I mean, I hate to use these terms, way too grown, but that's culture for a lot of young girls, where like a girl will be 12, 11, 12, and trying to dress like she's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Because that's what she sees on TV and YouTube and pop culture of the time. So essentially, throughout the film, she has this dichotomy between her being told in order for her to grow up, she has to uh, adhere to the cultural norms at home, which is, wait for her erstwhile bastard of a father to bring these two other women into the family with their kids, and her to basically abandon her schooling and raise these children, and basically be like until she can get old enough to find a husband who's going to dick her down and leave her with a whole bunch of kids and start the cycle all over again, or dress really provocatively and over hypersexualized for her age. um, and that's the dichotomy of the film. There's a point in the film where she finds out her mother is stashing away money because her mother is planning on getting her and getting the fuck out because her father's a piece of shit. Um, and she steals her mom's hidden money and uses it to buy a whole bunch of shit. And I'm like, man, your mother needs to beat your ass, which she does. I'm like, yes, mama for the win. Um, so, I mean, the film had a lot of controversy in it because Netflix did not really tell people what the film was about. But like I said, I'm not going to let popular, because a lot of the people who were talking shit about the film hadn't watched it, didn't understand what it was about, and simply want to jump on the bandwagon of saying, oh, this is terrible. It's like, did you see it? No. Then how do you know it was terrible? It's like someone saying, man, that's a terrible steak. Have you tried it? No. Then how do you know it's terrible? So, I mean, like I said, Netflix did not really properly market that film. Um, because if just on the surface, the way they marketed it, it does look like it's a pedophile's wet dream. But for the people who were talking shit about that film, why weren't they saying anything when we had all these, TMZ things where they had Teen Mom and cute and Honey Boo Boo and these child pageants, which remember that big thing where they had years ago with JonBenet Ramsey, and they had these little girls in these little girl pageants where they have like little 5-6-year-old girls dressing like they're 25 and out trying to get some. Like, that's the shit. Like, people act like this shit is new. No, it's been here for years.
Can I say something? Okay. First off, I wanted to address this.
Okay, go ahead.
Number one, I never liked shit like Honey Boo Boo, Toddlers and Tiaras, and what's the fucking Dancing with Moms or whatever.
I agree.
You know,
I never liked it either.
You know,
we can agree on
that. Those people who hated Cuties also hated those shows as well.
I disagree. Because if they did, they would have had the same level of outrage. And here's the thing. The difference between Cuties and those shows is that Cuties actually makes a statement about how exploiting children is a problem. Both exploiting children sexually, because actually not, I was about to say in both ways. In both cases, you have children being forced to grow up before their time. And that's not good. Children need to be children. Children need to be allowed to be children. Children should not be expected to grow up before their time. In the case of, ultra strict religious orders where young girls are forced to act like women before their time. And in the case of, young girls trying to dress very provocatively and hypersexualized, like before their time, it's not right either way. It makes a statement on that. Whereas Honey Boo Boo and those child pageants are basically trying to, make little girls dress up like little prostitutes. It's kind of fucked up, really. And they're advocating it. They're like, yeah, look at my little girl. Doesn't she look pretty? Your little girl looks like a little whore. And a cheap whore at that.
But does it still justify bringing in several hundred children just to be exploited in a sense? Especially how the cameraman is just zooming in on their genitals and their butts and whatever.
Well, like I said, the film is okay. If I was going to tell someone to watch Cuties, I think parents should watch it with their kids. Especially if you have young girls. The reason I say parents should watch it with their kids is because it shows how young girls are hypersexualized before their time and how that is a problem and how it should not be done. It's something that, they need to watch. A family needs to sit down with their kid and watch and be like, yeah, this is a problem. This is not right. That type of thing. I think that was the point of the film. Now, we'll disagree on that. The director herself said that was my point. I was trying to show how this is wrong. She also wrote the script for the thing. She said, I'm trying to show how this is wrong. Now, did Netflix fuck up in marketing it? But I think that was the point of the film. Like, I don't think this lady was like, yeah, okay, I want to make this pervy for pedophile. Like, I want to make pedophile candy. Like, I don't think she wanted to do that. I don't think she wanted to make a video that would get Chris Hansen devotees to come to a house and have Chris Hansen pop out on them. I don't think that was the case. I think she made it, like, the reason they were focusing on these young girls with the camera is to show why hypersexualizing a girl is wrong. You're supposed to feel skeevy because it is skeevy to do that. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable because it's not right to do that. It's kind of like when you watch it's kind of like if you watch a movie and it has a really explicit rape scene that's just like uncomfortable and just like makes you feel dirty. That's the point, because rape is dirty and it's wrong and it's uncomfortable. It's why would you demean someone like that? That's the point. That's what I'm trying to say. That was the point of the film, is to make you feel uncomfortable and really make you be like, this is wrong. That's the point. Hypersexualizing girls and making them grow up before their time is wrong. That was the point of the film. It accomplished its goal. But I mean, like I said, you know, pedophile. Look, if you're a pedophile, or actually, I take that back, because pedophilia is not the same thing as pederasty. If you're a pederast and you find yourself sexually attracted to young children, then you're gonna watch it and be like, yeah. But here's the thing: pederasts are gonna be into. They'll find anything to scratch their itch. So it's like I can't really. You know, it's like someone saying, "Well, I'm gonna get rid of all the cough syrup in my house so my alcoholic relative won't get drunk." They'll find a way to get drunk, even if you get rid of the cough syrup. They will find a way because they're alcoholics. But hey, you know, I mean, look, man. Like Jewel is with you on this. She thinks the film is like the biggest piece of trash ever. And you know, she's entitled to her opinion. I personally don't think it was that bad of a film. I think it was.
And you don't need to show that BS to know it's bad.
I think it was very I think it was mismarketed. I do think
Marketed.
I think it was mismarketed. I think had they explained what it was about and what the purpose of the director was, it would have made more sense. But
it wouldn't help. I'm calling it now.
That's your opinion. And that's all it is.
It wouldn't help because that still would make it a bad film.
I don't think it's that bad. But that's my own personal opinion. You know, like here's the thing: these are opinions. You know, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them.
When advertisement cannot even save you from your own BS, you have something wrong.
There are lots of products like that.
And it actually makes it worse. Then you really have a bad product that you shouldn't have released in the first place.
I mean, here's the thing.
I'm really going that far to defend that.
Here's the thing.
You must be full of
the film is an art film.
Art film,
No, it is an art film. Listen, art films are not for everyone. Like I will tell anyone this. Netflix should have marketed it as, this is an art film. It's not for everyone. Netflix put it out in 2020 when people were watching a lot of streaming, and and it was trending, and people watched it, and it was fun to jump on it. Art film, like, because here's the thing. I was almost a film major. I've seen a fuck ton of art films. Most of them, if I said you put them in a general movie theater, people would fucking hate them, even though some of them are really good, because an art film is a completely different beast than something that's for the mass consumer, like an Avengers or a comedy or a rom-com or a holiday movie, something like that. Like, it's a completely different beast. It's not for everyone, you know. It's just not for everyone. It's a different, like, basically, if you're a film critic, you will watch cuties and be like, okay, I get what she was trying to do. But here's the thing. The average consumer is not going to take 60 plus hours of film courses and understand how to critique that film. So for the Joe Blow consumer, they're not going to get it. They're just not going to fucking get it.
You don't need 60 hours of understanding film and movie critiques in order to understand how BS that is.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree.
And that's a big lie from you. Then
we'll agree to disagree on it. Okay. But anyway, that's all I'm saying about it. It wasn't, you know, it's like, here's the thing. Okay. I will use a more a baser analogy to make it simpler. Like, I don't understand string theory. In order for me to understand string theory, I would have to take a lot of courses in string theory in order to really discuss string theory. So if they made a movie about string theory, or at least not a movie, if someone said, "Hey, this is some shit about string theory," it goes over my head. I don't get it. I, it's not like so. I would say this is terrible. I don't understand this shit. Like, and here's the thing: movies are subjective. Everyone has opinions. Like, I could watch a documentary and get the joy of life out of it. You guys could watch a documentary and think it's a piece of shit. It's subjective. It's an opinion.
I've seen animal documentaries better than that.
You probably have. I mean, because it's your opinion. It's subjective. It's how you feel about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, I enjoyed the film. Not like enjoyed it because I'm a pedophile. I enjoyed it because I understood what the director was trying to do. But like, here's the thing: if other people don't like it, I can understand why they didn't like it. I understood what it was about. I understood what the director was trying to do, and I think she nailed it. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable because it's not right to hypersexualize young girls. That's the point of the film. But, that's my own personal opinion. Anything else you want to discuss before we wrap things up, Gilligan?
I think that would be all.
All right.
Because I do have something to tell you privately.
Yeah, off air. So
podcast.
so give your sign offs, and then we'll wrap things up and pimp out Saturday's cast, and then we'll wrap things up. Go ahead. I'll let you go first, Gilligan, since you're new guy on the cast.
This is Gilligan Stash signing out. That's all I could say.
All right. Jewel.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for seeing us at the BS Busters. I'm Joe Radio Moonstar, and of course, there's the Red Fox himself.
That's right.
And don't forget, you can also contact us by Twitter, email, or Discord.
That's right. Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters. Let's get into it after. We will have our next podcast this Saturday, where we will discuss some really awesome shit. I think this Saturday we will be talking about. Let me check my list. This on the 9th, we will be talking about some of the games we're looking forward to in 2021. So that being said, that's in the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, peace, and good night. And